You're watching Hallow Jones TV.
There has been many Peter Pan adaptation over the years, and Disney recently released a Peter Pan movie titled Peter Pan and Wendy, which a lot of people did not enjoy, including me. But I just don't understand why movie networks keep trying to make Peter Pan movies when this one distributed by Universal is the best one yet. It's a shame this hasn't become a classic and a family-friendly genre. I believe it was completely looked over because Pirates of the Caribbean came out at the same time and was a breakaway success. Now in this video, I'm going to discuss why this is the best Peter Pan movie yet and why no other adaptation is needed. Also in this video, I will compare and contrast this movie to the recent live action, Peter Pan and Wendy, as they are both live adaptations from the original book. The other Peter Pan movies such as Pan, Hook, and Finding Neverland were sequels and prequels, so I won't be discussing them. Now let's get started. Neverland is a magical place. It's an island filled with adventures, where dreams come to life. Neverland is a realm where pirates, mermaids, fairies, and lost boys reside. It's a place of eternal youth and freedom, where imagination knows no bound. And Universal movie did a great portrayal of Neverland. The visuals in the movie were vivid, bright, and colorful. The visuals were magical, dreamlike, and whimsical. The flying scene, which by far was the best scene. Universal did an amazing job at bringing the flying scene to life from the 1953 Disney movie. Although we didn't get the famous clock scene, the scene was amazing nevertheless. Seeing the characters interact with each other, laughing, having fun, messing with people down below, it makes you feel like you're flying alongside them, having fun. We also got a glimpse of Pixie Hollow, which was very beautiful. Watching the fairies dance around, the mermaids were a sight to see. It really brought out the dark side of the Peter Pan story. The mermaids were cool and creepy looking. And I love how they did Peter Pan hideout in the film. Really felt like being inside of a tree, very homey and comfortable. Another visual pleasing scene was towards the end when Peter gathered all the fairies to spread pixie dust all over the ship to fly back to London. Now even though this movie came out in 2003, the effects CGI were amazing. This movie overall was true to the original book, adding details such as how Peter Pan affects the weather in Neverland. When he leaves Neverland, it becomes icy cold. When he returns, it's warm and sunny, and when he's sad, Neverland's become very stormy. Now with Peter Pan and Wendy, it had astonishing visual pleasing scenes as well. We got to see the mermaid swimming, which was beautiful and cool. They looked amazing. Peter Pan's hideout, I loved the setup. It was an abandoned house. It looked more like a modern treehouse. And lastly, the flight to Neverland. Now the flight to Neverland scene was good, but not great in my opinion. I enjoyed seeing the characters fly, it was very cool, and they did the famous clock scene from the 1953 Disney movie, which is a plus. But I wish I was able to hear them enjoying themselves more while the music drowning them out. That's what made me enjoy the flying scene in the Universal version. Now I have some critiques. Majority of the movie was dark, which made the movie very dull to watch. This movie lacked in bright colors, which took the magic out of Neverland. And this is not the first time Disney has darkened a movie. They've done it with The Little Mermaid and Aladdin. So Disney need to stop doing that, or directors I should say. Besides the lack of bright colors in this film, Tinkerbell also looked dull. She had no light to her, she wasn't glowing at all, matter of fact, and Neverland looked like a typical island. It was boring. There was nothing magical about it. Like, why would kids want to come and stay on this island? Even the lost boys and girls didn't even look happy. Another thing I did not like was for a Pacific scene that was supposed to be dark and scary, they made it bright and cheerful. And I'm talking about the scene when Peter had to rescue Tiger Lily and Wendy's brothers. Universal in the 1953 Disney movie did a great job at portraying the scene to be scary and intense with the blue and green lighting. But Peter Pan and Wendy, the scene didn't look scary at all. The visuals was bright and warm, nothing that gave off the kids are in danger. Because of so many dual scenes which took away the magic, Universal Peter Pan is way more visual pleasing to watch. Universal did a great job with sticking by the book. Starting off with Tinkerbell. She was very animated and hilarious throughout the movie. Her facial expressions was amazing. We got to see a lot of her sassy side, as Tinkerbell was known for being a jealous fairy. Overall, Tinkerbell was portrayed well, similar to the animation version. Now in Peter Pan and Wendy, Tinkerbell was just there. She didn't really did anything in the movie but gave out pixie dust. We got to see a little bit of her sassy side, which I enjoyed, but it was only for a little bit. She only got sassy simply because the other characters could not understand her, and when Wendy was talking about her size. Overall, Tinkerbell was very boring throughout the movie. She had no personality, which is sad because Tinkerbell is a fan favorite character from Peter Pan. Majority of the movie, she was mute, and I mentioned this already, but another flaw is that Tinkerbell, who is a fairy, does not glow at all. This was a huge mistake. She's a mythical creature. She's supposed to look magical and have things humans don't. Next, Wendy Darling. So in the book, Wendy is described as a girl who has motherly tendencies but love adventure, and Universal did a great job at balancing those two things. First, with her motherly side. She was fascinated at being a mother to the Lost Boys. And the thing about Wendy, she's known for telling stories. That's something she's enjoyed doing. And the added detail in the movie, which I love, is that Universal version had a grown-up Wendy telling the stories about her adventures in Neverland to us viewers. Throughout the movie, Universal had Wendy telling stories to her brother and Peter and the Lost Boys, but to the pirates and Captain Hook as well. This was great because this was the reason why Peter kept visiting her house and invited her to Neverland. Now, we also got to see Wendy partake in the fun while in Neverland. Wendy joined the Lost Boys and Peter in the battle at the Black Castle and the battle on Captain Hook's ship. So overall, even the fact that Wendy and her brothers end up not staying, we got to see Wendy still had a great time. She got an adventure she always wanted. In Peter Pan and Wendy, Wendy was completely different. The biggest difference was that she was not a storyteller. In this movie, Peter often heard Wendy's mother telling stories about himself, and he only invited her and her brothers to Neverland because they didn't want to grow up. Which is fun because that is the entire point of the existence of Neverland. But with Wendy not being a storyteller completely strips away what made her a special character in the first place. She was just another random kid he picked up. And I often was annoyed with this version of Wendy. She reminded me more of a teenager facing puberty than a kid that was being forced to grow up. She was often snarky and angsty, and her relationship with her brothers was also different. She blamed John and Michael for breaking the mirror and called their game silly, which was strange because Wendy and her brothers were so close despite the age difference.
Wendy?
John, you tattletale!
I didn't say anything!
Father, it wasn't my fault. It was their silly little game.
Enough.
And they started it. It wasn't my...
Why did you say that? Why did you say it was our fault?
You're a pirate, aren't you? It's every man for himself.
And lastly, Wendy is not motherly. In fact, she rejects the idea of being a mother, which again is strange.
Wendy can be our mother.
Goodness, no. I don't even know if I want to be a mother.
Moving on to Captain Hook. Universal version perfectly embodies Captain Hook down to his appearance, which matched the 1953 Disney version. Hook is described as a cunning villain who never gives up on his pursuits, particularly his desire to get revenge on Peter Pan. Hook is extremely intelligent and manipulative and is aided by his charming and suave personality. He is able to trick anyone, even those who are more than aware that he is not to be trusted, and we've seen this many times throughout the film. Hook will often unapologetically off his crew members, kidnap kids, and was willing to feed the Lost Boys to the crocodile. He was able to manipulate Wendy, Tinkerbell, and Peter himself all to get what he wanted. Captain Hook in Universal was evil and comedic, similar to the animation version. Also a great idea Universal adapted from the play, they made the same actor play both Mr. Darling and Captain Hook. Jason Isaac is an amazing actor. The fact that he was able to play two characters simultaneously while sounding and looking completely different is astonishing. Now in Peter Pan and Wendy, they gave Hook a backstory, which I love, but I felt it wasn't needed. Hook was the first Lost Boy until Peter kicked him out, because he missed his mother, which is the reason why Hook wants revenge against Peter. Disney obviously wanted to paint Hook in a different light, so we as the viewers can sympathize with Hook. While there's an explanation, it certainly does not excuse his bad behavior, such as offing his crew members and kidnapping children. By the end of the film, they even highlighted he's a good guy now, which I disagree with because what made Hook an iconic character was his villainous ways. Hook in this movie was evil and very traumatic.
Yo-ho, yo.
Brother, singing again.
In the original, Peter Pan is described as arrogant, charming, brave, clever, and mischievous. And the Universal version of Peter was exactly that. Jeremy Sumpter, he was perfect for Peter Pan. He really brought the character to life. He was so animated, lively, and dreamy. I think almost every girl had a crush on him. And despite his antics, you still rooted for him in the end. His personality perfectly explains why he was well respected in Neverland and why the Lost Boys looked up to him as a leader. Now, Disney Peter Pan was the complete opposite. He was more so solemn and non-heroic. He lacked the qualities that made him, well, Peter Pan. He wasn't charismatic, nor mischievous, nor clever, which in turn made him not a great leader. There were many instances where his plan either failed or he easily got defeated by Captain Hook, such as when Peter had to rescue John and Michael from Captain Hook. Peter disguised himself as a pirate, but his plan immediately fails and he was unable to free the brothers. Instead, Wendy and Tiger Lily did, which caused Wendy to say,
"Well, that was fun."
A magical fairy that makes you fly. And a gaggle of children that do your bidding with a princess that cleans up your messes while you're off gallivanting with pirates. Do you really think that you could beat Captain Hook on your own?
While in the Universal version, Peter successfully managed to trick the pirates to let Wendy Brothers integrally go by imitating Captain Hook's voice, showing off his cleverness, and the Lost Boys along with Peter Pan and Wendy managed to escape. There was also another scene where Captain Hook invaded Peter's hideout and immediately was able to defeat Peter Pan. Like it took little to no effort, which was a disappointment. This has taken away Peter Pan's amazing qualities. It reduces his character as someone you don't really care for. And here's another example of how different these two are.
To die will be an awfully big adventure.
For to die will be an awfully big adventure.
But one thing both movies got right, they perfectly executed how Peter Pan suffers from loneliness. In Universal, Peter Pan flew back to London after the fight with Wendy to shut the window Mrs. Darling left open to make it seem like they have been forgotten. And he also got upset when the Lost Boys wanted to leave. And Peter and Wendy is the same thing. Peter got upset because he wanted Wendy to be his friend, and often got upset whenever the Lost Boys and the girls talked about leaving Neverland.
If you wish it.
If you wish it.
If you wish it!
If we went back home, it'll be the end of all our fun, all our adventures. All you'd have left is growing up.
This really was the best thing for me in the Universal version of Peter Pan. The relationship between Peter and Wendy. In the original and also the 1953 Disney movie, Wendy was the one that had a crush on Peter, and Peter on the other hand never grasped the idea of romantic feelings. In fact, he doesn't understand it, which makes sense. Even in the book, he said he loved Wendy like a mother. So in the Universal, I love how they stayed true to the original but gave Peter Pan character development by making him explore romantic feelings for Wendy. Their chemistry was amazing. There's a lot of cute moments in the movie, such as the dancing scene in the forest, the hidden kiss on the Jolly Roger, and lastly the goodbye scene at the end. There was also a lot of interesting conflicts between them. One of my favorite scenes was when Wendy told Peter that she and her brother were leaving, and you could see the smile left Peter's face instantly. Also, the fight scene after the dance in the forest, Universal did a great job at developing Peter and Wendy's relationship throughout the movie. Now, in the 2023 Disney movie, there was no romance, which is fine, but they took away the aspect of Wendy having a crush on Peter. Despite that, Peter and Wendy had zero chemistry. In fact, Wendy in the movie found Peter to be annoying. Almost every interaction they had was very hostile, which makes me wonder why she even decided to go with him to Neverland in the first place. Since they had no chemistry, the ending were lackluster.
You won't forget me, will you?
Me? Forget? Never.
Will you come back?
To hear stories about me.
Missing out on. Think of what the world is missing out on. With you not being there to do them.
I don't think I'm ready.
Universal Peter Pan stood out of all the Peter Pan films because it was the only film by far to include the I Believe in Fairies scene. I love in this movie they adapted an aspect that hasn't been in any other adaptation. Namely, Peter is the controlling force of Neverland. I'm so glad that the director found a way to include this traditional scene from the play when Peter pleads with the audience directly to say do they believe in fairies to bring back Tinkerbell. It was lovely seeing Peter interact with all the children and adults around the world. Peter even managed to get the pirates to say they believe in fairies. This scene overall is amazing because it gives the viewers a chance to interact with the characters. I found myself chanting I believe in fairies every time the scene pops up. In conclusion, as I said in the beginning, Universal made the best Peter Pan adaptation. It was true to the book with a few changes that made the story better, such as Peter and Wendy romance and Wendy being more adventurous. The film was filled with multiple genres: family, action, romance, fantasy, adventure, comedy, which means this movie caters to almost everyone. This movie just had the right note of nostalgia. It was whimsical, dark, and beautiful. They made a good coming-of-age story.
I want always to be a boy and have fun.
You say so, but I think it is your biggest pretend.
As for Peter and Wendy, I watched the movie with an open mind. I was excited for the visuals because Disney has a knack for visuals when it comes to their fantasy movies. But sadly, I was disappointed with the film overall. This movie is supposed to be a direct adaptation from the book and the 1953 Disney movie, but yet they made many drastic changes that affected the movie in a bad way. They made Peter a sad, weak boy, Wendy an angsty girl who don't enjoy telling stories or enjoy acting motherly. She honestly reminds me of Wendy's daughter Jane from the Peter Pan sequel. Captain Hook was very dramatic. The Lost Boys also had girls in the group, which defeated the purpose of girls being smarter than boys. This movie had potential, but with all the changes in the movie, it just fell flat. This movie would have been great if it was a Peter and Hook story. As the plot more so focused on Peter and Hook's past relationship, it could have been a great sequel or even a prequel to the Peter Pan movie. And that is the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, and comment down below your favorite Peter Pan adaptation. Thank you for watching. Until next time, bye!